Welcome back. Happy New Year. Episode 12 of The Rundown. I'm Gabe Henderson. Kyle Stackpole joins me as always. How you doing, man?
I'm great, man. New year, new decade, and really a new era of Redskins football.
Before we get to news, we got to tell the fans to subscribe to us. Kyle, you know all the platforms. Where can fans subscribe to The Rundown at?
For sure, yeah. So subscribe to The Rundown anywhere you get your podcasts. So Google Play, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. And if you like the podcast, give it 5 stars, good comments. That really helps us out as we try to build this podcast going forward, because it's a really exciting time for Redskins football. It's kind of crazy to think about. Last time we did this podcast was only 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But so much has changed in those 2 weeks. So it's really an exciting time. There's a lot happening at a time where it's usually pretty quiet.
Right.
So if you like the podcast, subscribe, rate, good comments, and we'll be here every week.
We'll be here every week. And another person that'll be here every week is new head coach Ron Rivera. Started the new year with a bang, announcing Ron Rivera as the new head coach. We've seen a lot of changes in this building. We saw some of the doors being removed, the walls are being painted. It just seems like a new era here. And I didn't have a chance to go to the press conference. I read all the notes. I watched the press conference online of Ron Rivera being introduced as a head coach. You were there, however, and you wrote an article that's on Redskins.com, basically with some of his top 10 takeaways and top 10 quotes from that press conference. I got a few myself, but since you wrote the article, go for it, man. What were some of your favorite quotes from that press conference from Ron Rivera?
Yeah, so really instead of specific quotes, you could probably touch on that. I'll just talk about the specific takeaways to start. Okay. I think the biggest thing is the mutual belief that the Redskins and team owner Dan Snyder and Ron Rivera have in each other. Yeah. So at the press conference, which ran about 25 minutes on last Thursday,
January 2nd.
Yep. And so Dan Snyder, he opened the press conference, and he was talking about how the Redskins needed a culture change, and Ron was the guy to do it. And something different than maybe the past coaches is that the Redskins are going to allow him to be the one in charge. It's going to be a coach-centered approach. So, and that happened by Mr. Snyder, just looking into what makes teams successful, and he looked at the Patriots and looked at the Chiefs, looked at the Seahawks, and he found that a coach-centric culture, everything coach is a big deal in making the decisions for the draft and personnel and free agent. Having that culture is going to be big. So he came to Rivera with that idea, and Rivera loved it. And Rivera you can sense the belief that he has in this franchise, because if he didn't, he would have waited longer.
He would have leveraged other teams.
Exactly. So actually, one of the quotes was, I'll tell you right now, this isn't about the money. If it was about the money, I would be waiting longer, trying to pit teams against each other.
Right.
From a week maybe after he got fired from the Carolina Panthers, him and Mr. Snyder, Mr. Snyder's agent, they were all in contact with each other, and from the start, he had faith in them, and the Redskins had faith in him, and that's why it came together so quickly. Less than a week after the regular season, and the Redskins already have a new coach.
That is very just a tell of 2 stories right there. I mean, just having a coach-centered approach and then letting him do his thing, and we've already seen implementations of Ron Rivera, instilling what he wants, what this franchise should look like. And Ron Rivera, I think one of the biggest things was that I've learned from this whole thing is like, he's well respected in the NFL. I've never seen a head coach get fired from a team and then have a farewell, video press conference that lets you know how respected he was at Carolina working for the Panthers. And here, I just feel like just watching the press conference online, you could just tell he had the attention of everybody in that room. And one of the things he said is like, this team will be a disciplined team. This team will have discipline. It goes back to his background, being having a military background, and being able to have that structure in his life. He is that he's that way with everybody, and he wants to make sure his team has that structure. And he's like, hey guys, if you do it my way and it goes wrong, I'll take the blame. And as a player, whenever the coach says like, hey, if something goes wrong, it's on him, and if something goes right, it's on you guys, that makes you want to run through a brick wall for this man. So having him here, I think is going to be huge for, this Redskins organization, for the culture here. We're already starting to do more, content, from the video side. I mean, I just feel like everything's starting to change. And every time there's change, it can be good or for worse. In this case, I really think it's going to be a really good change. And I like Ron Rivera. I think he's going to have the attention of these players. He's already bringing in some of his staff. I know we're going to say some of his staff changes, additions for the second segment, but you can tell Ron Rivera is starting to, make his mark on this organization within, this first week of him being here.
Oh, for sure. I mean, and I think you talked about the players, and when Mr. Snyder came to Ron Rivera with that coach-center approach, he said, I would love to do that, but under one condition. It's got to be player-center culture. And he's really been a guy that has put the players first. I mean, in Carolina, he moved his office down closer to the locker room so he could be around the players more. He cares more about the players' families and their well-being than
about them as a person.
Exactly, who they are as a person rather than what they do on the field. It's not just results based. So, and you can just tell from what the Carolina players said about him when he was fired and when he was rumored to be the Redskins coach. I mean, Gerald McCoy, who he was only with
1 year.
Yeah, he was only with Ron for 1 year, and a reporter in Carolina asked him, what are the Redskins getting in Coach Ron Rivera? And they said, this is about to be the best thing to ever happen to you guys. So he is, everywhere he's been, he's won. I think he's been coaching the NFL for 23 seasons, and I think he's gone to the playoffs 13 times.
It's crazy.
I mean, he led the Panthers to 3 straight division titles, got them to Super Bowl 50. So he's won everywhere he's been, and he's really going to provide just a stable presence and a guy who is going to get this figured out his way, just like he's done at all these other places, and try to get this franchise turned around.
I think just being a person from North Carolina, it's so hard to win over that Carolina fan base because North Carolina fans, they're always on the fence of, okay, what will happen if I do this or what will happen if I do that? The fact that he went over that fan base in such a small market, I think that says dividends of what he would do in this DMV culture. I mean, so many people rally around the Redskins, just as a franchise, and then having a coach like Ron Rivera who can, who gets your respect as soon as you talk to him. He looks you in their eyes, and he's just a well-spoken gentleman. And at the same time, he cares about he wants to win games. Success is, a big priority, a big thing in the NFL. But like you said, at the same time, he wants to make sure you're well as a person. So I think this is a great hire. I think it's going to be a lot going on, and we're about to get to the second segment. But before we do, we got to pay some bills.
Redskins defensive lineman, number 93, Jonathan Allen, hates to lose. So he's teaming up with Papa John's and you to help donate to the Sasha Bruce Youth Work, helping homeless children in our region every day. Team 93 needs you to make it a winning day for your family and these special children. You'll get 2 large topping pizzas and an order of wings for just $20. And Papa John's will donate 93 cents to the Sasha Bruce Youth Work for every single order. Play to eat, play to give, but play to win. Because nobody wants to lose. Did you know that your Washington Redskins are sponsored by Koch Industries? That's Koch, Koch. Their 67,000 U.S. employees make a lot of things that make game day better. Greener turf? They make that. Stronger paper products for tailgating? They make that. Oh, and electronic components and TVs and smart devices so you can watch a Redskins victory anywhere? Yeah, Koch makes that too. See all that they make for on and off the field at kochmakesthat.com.
All right, we're back. Segment 2, the rundown, episode 12. Kyle Stackpole, Gabe Henderson. Make sure you subscribe to us. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts. All right, Kyle, today it was announced Scott Turner is the new offensive coordinator for the Washington Redskins. That's a huge deal. We already know Jack Del Rio is a new defensive coordinator, but for Scott Turner, he sat down with Larry Michael. He joined the desk, Redskins Nation desk, and here's what he had to say on coaching Dwayne Haskins and how excited he is to bring his experience to what we're doing now.
I'm still in the process of really evaluating our roster, but we played the Redskins earlier in the year, so I was looking to the other side of the ball. But Dwayne, young quarterback, really liked him coming out of Ohio State, so was able to study him as as the quarterback coach. Got to spend a little time with him. Really liked his personality. I was actually telling him when I got a chance to kind of visit with him, I was coaching at Michigan. JT Barrett got hurt. He came in the game, led him down, got a big third down conversion, ended up tying the game, and they ended up beating us. He finished that game. It was a big performance for him, obviously in a rivalry game. So that was very attractive to work with a young quarterback. I've had experience, working with young guys. We drafted Teddy Bridgewater in Minnesota. I was part of the group in Carolina when we drafted Cam Newton. Just it's always fun to work with and develop young quarterbacks, seeing how they can do going forward.
All right, so he's had a lot of success, Kyle. I mean, he was on the staff that brought in Teddy Bridgewater in Minnesota. He coached Cam Newton, and now he has the opportunity to be on the same team and coach Dwayne Haskins. We already know that when he was at Michigan, he coached against Dwayne Haskins, and of course last year. So he's 0-2 against Dwayne Haskins, and now he gets to be a part of Dwayne Haskins' progression. So this is an exciting time for him, exciting time for the Washington Redskins, Dwayne Haskins, just everybody that's involved. And I think the biggest thing that I learned from, this interview that Scott Turner did with Larry Michael was his familiarity with the Washington Redskins franchise. I mean, of course, his dad, Norv Turner, coached here for 7 years. And, just being a part of, this culture and understanding who and what the Washington Redskins are, I think that is going to, take Dwayne Haskins to that next level. You got two like-minded individuals. We already know Dwayne Haskins, he knows everything about this Redskins culture. So two guys with like-minded thoughts on this organization. I think it can only be better. I mean, as far as with Dwayne Haskins' progression, I feel like we're only going to see Dwayne Haskins get better.
Yeah, for sure. I think a big thing with Scott Turner is that he hasn't been an OC before, at least for a full year. And, he was quarterbacks coach, and then he was receivers coach in Cleveland, and then he came back to Carolina and was quarterbacks coach again. But Ron Rivera has a lot of faith in him. I mean, even when he was fired, he told, it was someone in the front office or maybe another coach, he said, hey, give Scott Turner a chance to run this offense. He's a bright mind. He's a guy who's going to be moving up in this industry. And so the Carolina Panthers ended up letting him be the offensive coordinator for the last 4 games. And so the fact that, Coach Rivera brought him in as the offensive coordinator now just shows the trust that he has in him to be able to mold this young offense, work with Dwayne Haskins, work with these young receivers, work with Adrian Peterson and Darius Geis. So I think, he hasn't proven that he can do a lot as the OC just because he hasn't really gotten the opportunity, but the fact that Ron Rivera believes in him, I think, goes a long way.
I'm excited to see what he can do because there's so many question marks. So with question marks, the only thing you can do is answer. So I feel like he's just going to be answering all year long. And then Dwayne Haskins, we already saw how the rest of his rookie season ended. I mean, every week he got better. So having that, you got an offensive coordinator who's called games in the NFL the last 4 games. I feel like they were just building for this moment, and now their paths meet, and I feel like it's just a straight line. Jack Del Rio was the first hire for Ron Rivera, so there's some like-mindedness in both of those individuals, and I'm excited to see this defense switch to a 4-3. We're talking about a Montez Sweat who's putting on weight, same speed, stronger, with his hand in the ground, and opposite of him. If everything works out with Ryan Kerrigan, you got a Ryan Kerrigan who knows hey, this is what I focus on. My job now, 90% of the time, is to go get that quarterback. And that's all he has to worry about. We already know Ryan Kerrigan said, with a 4-3, he might have to gain a little bit of weight. I know my opinion really doesn't matter to Ryan Kerrigan, but my personal opinion is hey, lose some weight. We're talking about it.
I was going to say, yeah. When he came in here for the podcast, his arms were
bigger.
Arms look like my thighs. I mean, the guy's huge. I don't know where he would gain the extra weight, but I agree with you. Maybe slim down a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I think
what do we know?
Right, we're not defensive coordinators. So with Jack Del Rio as the defensive coordinator, I'm interested to see what his staff will look like. We don't know what Scott Turner's staff will look like. We did hear Scott Turner say earlier today, and it's on Redskins.com, that they plan on finishing, filling in their coaching positions by early next week. So Redskins fans out there, you will know who your offensive staff at the least will be by early next week. So that's a positive sign for Redskins fans who are on the fence of like, all right, who else does he hire? But going back to the defense, I'm interested and I'm excited to see who Jack Del Rio will hire because, like you said with Ron Rivera, he's had a lot of, winning seasons, successful seasons in his 23 years. Jack Del Rio has had a lot of successful defenses in his, tenure being an NFL coach. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I think the biggest thing, and Rivera wasted no time with this. I mean, it was
Jack Del Rio was at the press conference.
Yeah, he was at the press conference. He was right afterwards that he was going to announce him as defensive coordinator. And a reporter asked Ron Rivera about that at the press conference, why Jack Del Rio? And he says, so Rivera has a saying, and he says, don't draw me a map unless you've been there before. And that really came, and that's one of the reasons why Rivera got in touch with John Madden, which is an aside. But that's another thing with Jack Del Rio. He's been there before. He's been a head coach in Jacksonville and Oakland. He's been a defensive coordinator of defenses that have been top 5 in the league. So now
he's won a Super Bowl, bro.
Won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, right? Mm-hmm. So not only are you bringing him in, a proven defensive guy, but Ron Rivera is also a defensive-minded guy. I mean, he's the first Redskins head coach that's defensive-minded since Marty Schottenheimer in 2001. Everyone else has been offensive. So the fact that you're going to have both of these guys back together, and they haven't coached together before, but you can just tell they have so much respect for each other.
That relationship is...
And that's what Rivera wanted, because he needed someone, if things were going wrong or things, maybe he didn't like something or Jack didn't like something, he could go to Ron and be like, hey, we need to change this. And Rivera would believe him and respect his input because he knows how much experience he has. So I think for a Redskins team where the offense came on at the end of the year and the defense really struggled, this is going to be big for them to get back to that defensive identity, because we've talked about it. There's a lot of talented pieces. It's just a matter of putting them in the best position to be effective.
And last thing, before we end this segment, Ron Rivera did say, when the defense leaves that meeting, there's only going to be one voice, and that voice will be Jack Del Rio. So the amount of trust and respect that he has for Jack Del Rio says a lot. Looking for another chance to win? $100,000 scratcher replay from the Virginia Lottery is exactly that. Now through March 31st, any non-winning Virginia Lottery scratcher offers a shot at winning $500 in a daily drawing or even a $10,000 grand prize. Here's the lowdown. Any non-winning Virginia Lottery scratcher can be entered into a daily drawing. In each daily drawing, 2 players will win $500 each. Every entry into a daily drawing is automatically entered into the grand prize drawing, which is set for April 7th. On April 7th, one lucky player will win the $10,000 grand prize. All entries must be entered either at valottery.com/replay or the Virginia Lottery app. The fun doesn't stop if you don't win on your scratcher. Just replay it with $100,000 scratcher replay. Visit valottery.com/replay for more information. The odds of winning a prize in the $100,000 scratcher replay promotion depends on the number of entries received. We're back, segment 3, episode 12 of the Rundown. Kyle Stackpole, Gabe Henderson. Kyle, this is, like we talked about in the last 2 segments, this is an exciting time, man. But for you, what's been your biggest takeaway with all of this?
I mean, I just think it's the overhaul that so much has happened. I mean, we talked about Ron Rivera, Jack Del Rio, now Scott Turner, and another thing,
Ryan Vermillion. Those guys.
So we wanted to get to that too. They have hired Ryan Vermillion as the head athletic trainer. Spent the last 18 years in Carolina as the head athletic trainer, so he has a lot of he's worked a long time with Ron Rivera, and so they brought him in. They brought in a Kevin Wilk as a medical consultant. He's worked with the who's who of sports figures and celebrities, and he's really well respected around the NFL. So
Forbes put out an article on him today.
Oh, did they?
Yep. But go for it. Yeah, I was just talking about how respected he is and how important it is for the Redskins to have him in the building now, how respected he is around the league. It was a really good article.
Oh, for sure. And I think as much as people talk about the coaching staff needs to change and this needs to change, not to say that the training staff needed to be changed or anything, but the Redskins did have a lot of injuries these past couple of years. I mean, I think they had the most guys on IR the past 2 years, and then I don't know exactly what the numbers are this year, but they ended the season with a lot of guys on injury reserve. So this is just another thing where Ron Rivera, he feels comfortable with his head athletic trainer from Carolina, and he thinks that he can do a good job here, and Ryan Vermillion is a respected guy. So I think as much as the coaching staff is important and getting in place, it is important to note that there's going to be a new training staff here and new guys looking over our players. So that's exciting too.
Another important note is we had 3 rookies on the top 25 all-rookie class this year.
Yep, NFL.com.
Yep. Cole Holcomb, Terry McLaurin, and Montez Sweat.
That's right.
3 guys that had phenomenal years. I think, of course, I know, of course, who probably had the biggest year is Terry McLaurin. Played 14 games, finished second all-time in Redskins history as a rookie for receiving yards. He was phenomenal. Scott Turner talked about earlier today. He was like, when he was in Carolina, Terry McLaurin was a guy that they really had their eye on, and he wasn't even though he was a 3rd-round draft pick, he wasn't surprised by his early success. So the fact that he has a guy like that to work with, and then on the defensive side of the ball, Jack Del Rio's high on Montez Sweat and Cole Holcomb. So having those 3 guys, those 3 rookies who have a year under their belt and finally got some notoriety and recognition for what they have done in their rookie season, I think it only gets better in year 2 for those guys.
Yeah, and I think that just goes back to what the Redskins have been able to do in drafts in past years. I mean, when they got Jonathan Allen in 2017, Deron Payne, and Darius Geis 2018, and that's something that Rivera actually brought up in the press conference, that we've had the Redskins have had some really strong drafts in recent years, and this draft only solidifies that and makes it stronger. So Rivera is really excited about the young talent that is in here, and that was another reason why he came. He told Mr. Schneider that he didn't want it to be a 5-year rebuilding process. Yeah. He wanted to come here to win now. And he said with the raw young talent that they have, and then the veteran leadership with Adrian Peterson. I mean, I know Landon Collins is only 25, but he's a signature leader.
He walks around like he's 35.
Exactly.
Like he's just
and he
cerebral.
plays like he's 20. Whatever.
Exactly.
So with that raw talent and that leadership, that's a great combination. That's something that Rivera wanted to come into, and now he just has to cultivate all that talent and put it into a product that is going to win games on Sundays. So the rookies, like you said, they were really good this year, all year long. I mean, you had Kelvin Harmon too, Steven Sims, even Wes Martin. So the rookie class was really good this year. And then I think before we head out of here, 2 more things. So got to talk about Tress Way, right?
Oh yeah, second team All Pro.
First
time Pro Bowler.
First time Pro. Huge year for him. Yeah. Just another accolade for him. I mean, he had an amazing year. I think he's the first Pro Bowler Redskins have had since 2015. So,
wow.
Yeah, and I think he could have been first team All Pro.
Yeah,
but
personally, I do. I still think, like I told him, 2018 was better.
2018. I don't know how he didn't make anything that year, but I think the 2018 year really put him out there.
Yeah.
He was on people's radars now. Like, hey, make sure you follow this guy. And then he followed that up, and all right, we have to recognize him.
I would kind of relate that to Matt Ioannidis to an extent. Like, this year was just like, okay, who I am. Next year is just a follow-up year for him. I know that's like far left field, but I personally think he's having a similar career. Like, it's like, how in the world is Matt Ioannidis not a starter in the Pro Bowl?
Yeah.
But it's like, okay, like, we know who he is. He's a reserve this year, and all right, we got our eye on you.
Exactly.
Now finish that up.
Exactly. So then, last thing for me is it's really never too early to talk about the NFL draft. I mean, 2020 mock drafts are here. I mean, I was looking at them yesterday, and I think I looked at 7 or 8, and we were actually planning on doing some sort of mock madness on the website. Like, okay, who are all these different guys that different outlets are projecting to go to the Redskins? Except every single one I've looked at says
there's a guy from Ohio State.
The guy from Ohio State,
not Dwayne Haskins,
the edge rusher, Chase Young.
Yep.
They say he's going to the Redskins. So we might have to rework our draft strategy, if you will. But I mean, he's the guy that everyone's looking at right now. I mean, just to give, not to say that he's definitely coming here. But
solidified.
what can you, I guess, tell people about Chase Young? Who is this guy?
Chase Young is a freak. He is, of course, we all saw what he did at Ohio State. He missed a couple games last year. And did he still lead the NCAA in sacks? I'm not 100% sure. I know he was up there.
Yeah. If he didn't lead it, he was one of the top.
Yeah, he is a phenomenal athlete. I personally think he is one of those guys, one of those generational talents that can make an immediate impact. I mean, I think the last time I said somebody was a generational talent was Jadeveon Clowney. What he did at South Carolina, and I think he left after his sophomore redshirt year or his junior.
Like that, yeah.
What he did at South Carolina, I think Chase Young did something similar. I'm not going to say better or worse, but something similar at Ohio State last year. The dude is just a freak. He grew up a Redskins fan. So it makes the most sense. Like I said, we're not in that draft room on draft night making those picks, but it makes the most sense that he comes here and he makes an immediate impact. He'll be learning from a lot of guys. You got your Montez Sweat that's been here a year who ran a 4.4 at the Combine last year. You got Ryan Kerrigan, who's second all-time in sacks leaders in Redskins history. You got Ryan Anderson, who got a lot of playing time last year. So you got a lot of guys here that can teach him. And, the defensive line, those guys get tired all the time. So I think you and I were talking about it. Let's say he does come here, right? And let's say, he's here with, your Kerrigan. This is a hypothetical. Your Kerrigan, your Montez Sweats, Ryan Anderson, and he's the other guy. And then interior, we're just talking about your two outside guys. The interior, you got Matt Ioannidis, Deron Payne, John Allen, and Tim Settle.
Yep.
Of course, you got other guys sprinkled in. But, bro, that's scary. That's scary. Your front four, that's scary. And you got Reuben Foster back, Cole Holcomb, Sean Deion Hamilton. We don't know the situation with John Bostic just yet. But just those three guys who are under salary for the under salary for next year, like that. That could be good.
There's
with
a lot of
Jack
pieces.
Del Rio, yeah.
Exactly. And he would be coming in with Jack Del Rio, with Ron Rivera, with guys that know defense. They know defense, better than a lot of other coaches in the NFL. So, we're not saying that Chase Young is going to come here, but it was interesting because I was looking that up just to really see, and he was really the only one they were saying. I mean, it's exciting regardless because at number 2, the Redskins are going to get a player that they really believe can change this franchise. And it's really nice to have a coaching staff coming in that knows that it has this pick and it can really use this pick to build on what he wants to accomplish the next 5-10 years.
Right.
So it's really exciting time here. I mean, I know the season just ended, but there's so much happening. I'm glad. I can't wait for more stuff to come, the draft, just more coaching hires, get to know all these new guys. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be fun. There's more segments to come of the rundown. Make sure you subscribe. I think that's all I got. That's all you got?
Me too, yeah.
Perfect.
All good.
Well, for Stevie Katz, Kyle Stackpole, I'm Gabe Henderson, and this is The Rundown.
Are uninvited pests ruining your plans? Let PMSI, the pest control partner of the Washington Redskins, handle it for you. Call today for your free inspection, and they'll work around your schedule to provide you the best solution possible to defend your home territory against pests of all kinds, including mold. Visit mypmsi.com for the game plan to control the pests on your home turf. That's mypmsi.com.
At Coke, our 67,000 U.S. employees make things that make your game days better, like fertilizer for greener turf and stronger paper products for tailgating. Viewing the game from your couch? Coke also makes the electronic components and TVs and smart devices so you can watch your Redskins victory anywhere. Coke, we make that. See it all at KOCHmakesthat.com. That's CokeMakesThat.com.
Winter is the season for adventure, and if you want a car as exciting as your lifestyle, then it has to be an all-wheel drive Honda SUV. With more features, the CR-V has standard Honda sensing, more room for friends, the Pilot has seating for 8, more comfort, the HR-V has available heated seats, and more rugged. The Passport is built for adventure with ample cargo space and hidden storage compartments. Winter adventure is calling, and Honda is ready to answer. See your local Honda dealer today.
Hey, Redskins Nation, it's the old pro Darryl Green. You know, when I retired from this Super Bowl winning franchise, I set my sights on transitioning to another winning team, Main Street Bank. I joined Main Street Bank the same year I retired from the Redskins, and we've been serving the D.C. metropolitan area ever since. Online and mobile banking with Main Street Bank is as easy as intercepting a pass from a Dallas Cowboy quarterback. And that was pretty easy.
Main Street Bank, member FDIC.